They want to crash the economy. I'm telling you, hang on to your seat. It's going to get wild.
Throughout history, economic crashes have shaken the foundations of societies, leaving devastation in their wake. From the Great Depression of 1929 to the 2008 financial crisis, economic collapses have led to mass unemployment, social unrest, and widespread poverty. But what if the economy were to crash today, in a world more interconnected than ever before? How would modern society handle such a catastrophe, and what would it mean for everyday people like you and me? Let's break down what would happen if the global economy collapsed in today's world. The immediate aftermath: a shockwave across markets. The first thing that would happen in a financial meltdown is a total collapse of confidence in the markets. The stock market would plummet, wiping out trillions of dollars in wealth within hours. Banks would freeze withdrawals, businesses would cut jobs, and a wave of panic would sweep across industries. People who have savings in banks or investments in stocks would see their wealth vanish overnight. Retirement funds would be drained, and anyone relying on investments for their future would be in serious trouble. The housing market would crash, and millions would face foreclosure as banks struggle to stay afloat. Mass unemployment and business closures. As financial institutions fail, businesses of all sizes would struggle to survive. Without access to loans or consumer spending, many companies would be forced to shut down, leading to massive layoffs. Unemployment rates could skyrocket to levels never seen before, leaving millions without a steady income. Even the most stable industries wouldn't be safe. Major corporations would downsize, small businesses would shut their doors, and even government-funded jobs could see severe budget cuts. Those who still have jobs would likely experience salary reductions, delayed paychecks, or even unpaid work as companies fight to stay afloat. Inflation or hyperinflation. The rising cost of survival. With money losing value rapidly, inflation would spiral out of control. Everyday necessities like food, gas, and medicine would become increasingly expensive, making it difficult for families to afford basic goods. In extreme cases, hyperinflation could take hold, causing prices to rise so fast that people would need wheelbarrows of cash just to buy groceries. Similar to what happened in countries like Zimbabwe and Venezuela, governments may try to print more money to inject liquidity into the economy, but this often leads to an even worse crisis. As the value of currency declines, international trade could slow to a halt, making it harder to import essential goods and materials. Shortages of food, medicine, and fuel would become a harsh reality. The collapse of banking and financial systems. Banks rely on confidence and liquidity to function. In a crisis, bank runs would become common as people desperately try to withdraw their savings. However, most banks operate on a fractional reserve system, meaning they don't physically have all the cash their customers have deposited. If too many people withdraw at once, banks will collapse, leaving millions without access to their own money. Credit lines would disappear overnight, meaning businesses and individuals who rely on loans would struggle to survive. Mortgages, car loans, student debt, and credit card payments would become unpayable for most, leading to widespread defaults and financial ruin for millions of families. The breakdown of supply chains. Modern economies rely heavily on complex global supply chains. A total economic collapse would disrupt these networks, making it nearly impossible to transport goods efficiently. Supermarkets would run out of food, gas stations would dry up, and manufacturing would grind to a halt due to shortages of raw materials. Tech industries, which depend on rare minerals and global suppliers, would face significant disruptions. Even medical supplies and pharmaceutical production would be affected, leading to severe shortages of life-saving drugs and treatments. The rise of crime and social unrest. When people struggle to meet their basic needs, crime rates tend to rise. In an economic collapse, theft, looting, and violent crime could skyrocket as people become desperate to survive. Grocery stores and pharmacies would become prime targets, and law enforcement agencies might be unable to keep up with the surge in criminal activity. Social unrest would likely follow. Protests, riots, and demonstrations could become widespread as people demand government intervention. History has shown us that economic desperation can fuel political instability, leading to radical changes in leadership, coups, or even the rise of authoritarian regimes. Government response. Bailouts, welfare, and military intervention. Governments would be forced to respond quickly, but their options would be limited. Central banks might attempt to lower interest rates or inject money into the economy to stabilize markets. But if confidence is lost, these measures may have little effect. massive government bailouts could be implemented, similar to what happened during the 2008 financial crisis. However, with national debts already at record highs in many countries, there may not be enough financial power to sustain long-term relief efforts. Welfare programs, food assistance, and emergency relief would become essential, but these systems could become overwhelmed, leading to bureaucratic failures and corruption. In extreme cases, governments might deploy military forces to maintain order, enforce curfews, or prevent widespread chaos. Potential long-term consequences: a new economic order. If an economic collapse were severe enough, the world could see a major shift in power. Global superpowers might weaken, while emerging nations could rise to prominence. Cryptocurrencies and decentralized finance could become more widely adopted as trust in traditional banking systems fades. In some scenarios, a global recession could force international cooperation, leading to new trade agreements or economic alliances. However, history also suggests that economic desperation can lead to war, as nations compete for dwindling resources. How can you prepare for an economic collapse? While no one can predict the future with certainty, being prepared is always a good idea. Here are some key steps you can take to safeguard yourself in case of an economic downturn. 1. Diversify your income. Relying on a single source of income can be risky. Investing in multiple streams of revenue, whether through side businesses, freelance work, or investments, can provide a safety net. 2. Save and store essentials. Having emergency savings in cash and keeping a supply of essential goods, such as food, water, and medicine, can help you survive short-term disruptions. 3. Invest wisely. Precious metals like gold and silver have historically been safe havens during economic crises. Some experts also recommend diversifying into cryptocurrencies or other assets that aren't tied to traditional banking systems. 4. Reduce debt. Eliminating unnecessary debt can put you in a better financial position if the economy collapses. Paying off high-interest loans and avoiding new debt can help you weather the storm. 5. Learn essential skills. In a worst-case scenario, practical skills such as farming, carpentry, and first aid can become invaluable. The more self-sufficient you are, the less dependent you'll be on a broken economy. An economic collapse in today's society would be catastrophic, affecting every aspect of our lives. From widespread unemployment and inflation to food shortages and social unrest, the consequences would be severe. While no one can say for certain when or if such a disaster will occur, understanding the risks and preparing accordingly can make all the difference. Would you survive an economic collapse? What steps are you taking to prepare? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an eye-opening video like this.